Did you know? The history of McDonald's can be traced back to a hot dog stand in the 1930s. In 1937, Patrick McDonald opened a food stand called the Airdrome on Huntington Avenue in Hollywood, near the Monrovia Airport. The Airdrome was based on a car hop service model, where you could order food and the waitstaff would bring it to your car. They sold their first hamburgers for just 10 cents. In the 1940s, Patrick's sons Richard and Maurice McDonald joined the business, reopening the Airdrome in San Bernardino as McDonald's Barbecue in May of 1940. They realized the importance of getting food to their customers quickly, and also shifted their marketing tactics to encourage people to eat their food and leave the restaurant faster. These included spreading their seating out to make it more difficult to socialize, angling their seating so patrons were hunched over their food, using cone-shaped cups so customers would not be able to put their drinks down, and turning off the heat to discourage people from staying. Eventually, they eliminated their car hop service and tables in favor of a self-service model they called the Speedy Service System. Additionally, they saw that they made the most money out of hamburgers and refocused their menu to focus on burgers, fries, and milkshakes. During this period, the brothers redesigned the kitchens in their restaurant to be more efficient, borrowing elements from White Castle, the first American fast food chain. On December 12, 1948, they reopened their restaurant once more, this time calling it simply McDonald's. In 1952, the brothers decided to redesign their building to make their restaurant even more efficient, and hired architect Stanley Clark Meston to make their new building and brand eye-catching. To work out the best positioning for the kitchen equipment, the two McDonalds, Meston, and Meston's draftsman, Charles Fish, charted out the exact measurements of each device on a tennis court. Meston's aesthetic design for the new building increased the visibility of McDonald's, including bright red and white ceramic tiles and two yellow sheet metal arches lined with neon. The arches were the idea of Richard McDonald, who thought the bright golden lights reflecting on windshields would attract the attention of people driving by. These golden arches would later be incorporated into the McDonald's logo in 1962, and the iconic M design was adopted in 1968. Interestingly, though the golden arches have become an integral part of the McDonald's brand, a few of their restaurants don't even use them. The McDonald's in Sedona, Arizona use turquoise arches. A franchise in Monterey, California features a black pair, and a couple restaurants in Paris and Bruges have white logos. These were all changed to comply with local laws or ordinances. The McDonald's brothers began offering franchising options in the late 1940s, but found very little success due to poor marketing and an aversion to advertising. After redesigning their kitchen and branding, the brothers sold their first franchise license to Neil Fox in 1953, who opened his McDonald's in Phoenix, Arizona. Fox later told his brother-in-law, Roger Williams, about the restaurant and encouraged him to also invest in a franchise. Williams and his friend Bud Landon opened their McDonald's in Downey, California on August 18, 1953. This restaurant has the distinction of being the oldest surviving McDonald's still in operation. In 1954, Ray Kroc, a seller of milkshake multi-mixer machines, discovered that the McDonald brothers were using 8 of his machines at their San Bernardino location alone. His interest piqued, Kroc visited the store and saw great potential in the McDonald's format of fast food restaurant. Using his knowledge of marketing, Kroc suggested that the McDonald brothers franchise the restaurant beyond the Southwest, but the brothers were skeptical that the self-service model would interest customers in colder or wetter climates. Kroc was more confident, however, and offered to take on most of the risk himself. The brothers agreed and sold Kroc the rights to open McDonald's restaurants across the country, excluding certain areas of Southern California and Arizona. The brothers were to receive just 0.5% of all sales from these franchises. Kroc returned to his home in Chicago and opened his first McDonald's in Des Plaines, Illinois, near Chicago on April 15, 1955. However, as he was looking to open other stores, Kroc soon discovered that the McDonald brothers had also sold a franchise license in Cook County, Illinois, to the Freylock Ice Cream Company. This enraged Kroc, who bought out Freylock's license for $25,000, or roughly $235,000 in today's money, 5 times what Freylock initially paid for it. This event also solidified Kroc's desire to build this brand on his own. In 1955, Kroc sent a letter to Walt Disney, whom he'd met during World War I when they both lied about their age to join the Red Cross. Kroc proposed opening McDonald's stores in Disneyland, which was under construction at the time. Disney replied cordially and forwarded Kroc's proposal to executives in charge of concessions at the park. According to some versions of this story, Disney agreed to let McDonald's restaurants into his park, but insisted that they raise the price of fries by 5 cents so that Disney could profit. Kroc refused to do this because he did not want to gouge his customers. This version of events seems unlikely and has little evidence, however. Investigative journalist Eric Schlosser has speculated that the pitch simply went nowhere and that someone within the McDonald's company wanted to put a more positive spin on the story. In 1959, Kroc had opened over 100 McDonald's restaurants, and in 1961, he bought the name, brand, and franchise outright from the McDonald brothers for $2.7 million. That is roughly $17.64 million in today's money. Kroc believed that marketing and advertisement was going to be key to building the company, and this led to explosive growth during the 1960s through the 80s. In 1963, the company had introduced a new mascot in Ronald McDonald, the Hamburger Happy Clown. Also in 1963, McDonald's served its billionth hamburger live on the Art Linkletter TV show. The company went public in 1965 with expansion into international markets starting in 1967. They followed Wendy's lead by opening their first drive-thru restaurant in Sierra Vista, Arizona in 1975. Many of McDonald's most iconic and popular items were also introduced during this period. The Filet-O-Fish was first introduced in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1962 to combat lower sales in Catholic areas on Fridays and during Lent, when Catholics cannot eat meat with blood in it. The Big Mac was first introduced in Pittsburgh in 1967 and was so popular that it became available at all US locations within a year. McDonald's line of breakfast sandwiches was first created in 1972 with the Egg McMuffin, and the company began selling smaller Happy Meals packaged with toys aimed at children in June of 1979. In the early 1980s, McDonald's became embroiled in a fast food arms race with several other chains known as the Burger Wars. While mostly a series of aggressive ad campaigns and falling prices, McDonald's found success in the conflict by expanding their number of locations and introducing new items like the McChicken and the McNuggets. By 1996, McDonald's had surpassed Coca-Cola as the most recognized and powerful brand in the world. However, despite this continued success, McDonald's stumbled frequently during the 90s and noughties. The public perception of the quality of McDonald's food had fallen greatly by this point, with blind taste testers frequently placing McDonald's hamburgers behind those of Wendy's and Burger King. Perhaps the best demonstration of the general distaste for McDonald's food during this period came during their partnership with Beanie Babies in the late 1990s. The two companies offered exclusive Teeny Baby plush dolls and McDonald's Happy Meals, but people commonly bought the meal just for the plushes and threw the food away. Additionally, in 1962, McDonald's introduced supersized meals, which came with extra fries and a larger soft drink. Though the option was popular, it drew the criticism of healthcare professionals and was often linked to the obesity epidemic in the United States. Several people actually tried suing McDonald's, claiming that the company's food had made them obese. In 2004, independent filmmaker Morgan Spurlock released his documentary, Super Size Me, which saw Spurlock eat nothing but McDonald's for a month to declining health. Shortly after the film was released, McDonald's announced they were eliminating supersizes from their menu and introducing several salad options in an attempt to offer healthier choices. Though McDonald's began this campaign as a way to combat their image as a market for unhealthy foods, they insisted that the decision was not a response of Super Size Me's release. The company explained, "We do agree with the film's core argument that if you eat too much and do too little, it's bad for you." In recent years, McDonald's has remained a successful company and brand and remains America's #1 fast food chain. However, they have still faced several troubles. Many millennials dislike the brand, with 26% of them going as far as to say McDonald's had a negative impact on their community in 2017. In comparison, just 8% of seniors felt the same way. Additionally, in 2016, only 20% of millennials had reported even trying a Big Mac. The company has made several changes in an attempt to win over the demographic, including a more diverse menu with healthier and more natural options. Additionally, in 2015, the company began rebranding the interior of their restaurants in the United States to be more comfortable and inviting. Interestingly, many of these interior designs were imported directly from McDonald's restaurants in Canada, Europe, and Australia. McDonald's has undoubtedly had a massive impact on the fast food industry and on popular culture. The company is one of the largest employers in the United States, and according to the book Fast Food Nation, roughly 1 in 8 American workers had been employed by McDonald's at some point in their lives. McDonald's sells about 75 hamburgers every second and feeds an estimated 68 million people every day, a number higher than the population of Great Britain. Interestingly, the Queen of England purchased a retail park in Slough, Berkshire in 2008, giving the Crown ownership of a drive-through McDonald's in the area. The sheer number of McDonald's locations also makes the company one of the world's largest owners of real estate, with their assets estimated to be worth more than $28 billion in 2015. Additionally, in 2004, McDonald's estimated that about 20% of their sales involved Happy Meals, which made McDonald's the largest distributor of toys in the world. Presently, more people on Earth recognize the Golden Arches than they do the Christian Cross.
Who's that?
McDonald's.